Hello everyone, welcome back. I'm Asim Iqbal, your F1 tutor here at KnS. I would like to welcome you back to the third lecture of the series. And if you may recall, we were like halfway through the second chapter in our last class. However, we will be finishing this chapter today. And I hope that you guys will have fun as usual. Okay, so the last thing we did was cultural trends, right? So let's see what else we have in store for us. All right, so the next thing that we'll be discussing is the impact of technology on organizations. As you very well know, that the very class you're watching right now, guys, it's only possible through technology, right? Like even maybe 40 years ago, 50 years ago, this technology was not accessible, right? If you had to learn anything, you probably had to go to a physical classroom, okay? But thanks to technology, thanks to so many innovations, now you and I are connected throughout the world, wherever you may be sitting, and you are learning F1 at your home, at your office, at your school, at your computer lab, wherever it's possible, right? So all this is possible through technology. And obviously, many organizations throughout the world, they deploy technology as it suits them, right? But how does it suit them? What benefits they're getting? Let's take a look. The first thing that we have to discuss is the span of control. Okay, now the span of control is something that is like how many people you are responsible for, I would say, right? Like, let's take the example of like, if you're living in a joint family system, right? Or if you're living with your parents, you're living with your brothers and sisters, right? And maybe like your dad, your father, he is the sole provider, okay? So he is like, he has the span of control over everybody. The first thing that we're going to see is the span of control. Now the span of control refers to all of the people that you're responsible for, that a particular director or a particular manager or supervisor is responsible for overseeing and for managing, right? Like for example, you have a factory, right? Like you have a factory and there are like 100 workers on the floor, okay? They're operating the machinery, they're making the products, all that stuff. And there's going to be a supervisor, okay? Now, the supervisor, he is supervising all of the people, all of the 100 people who are working on the factory floor, okay? So his span of control, the people he's responsible for, the people he'll be overseeing is the 100 factory workers, okay? The 100 factory workers are his span of control, the people he is responsible for, the people he'll be monitoring and guiding and helping out, okay? All right. But due to technology, due to enhanced technology, many organizations are going for a flatter organizational structure, okay? Now, what does this mean exactly? Like, what is an organizational structure? What does it mean by a flat organizational structure? Let me explain. Although there's another whole chapter regarding organizational structure, which we will be getting to in the coming days. But I'll just give you an overview about but I'll just be giving you an overview about what an organizational structure really is, okay? Now, an organizational structure is like a hierarchy which is established within a business, okay? Like, for example, you have your frontline workers, okay? You have your frontline workers, then you have your supervisors, then you have your managers, then you have the directors, and then the CEO and CFO, right? So see, this is a hierarchy which is built up, right? And if you go to any government institution or if you go to any bureaucracies, you will find that these organizational structures are very, they're very rigid and they're very tall. Like, there are many, many levels of, positions of responsibility, I would say, okay? Like, take the example of the military, okay? You have your private, then lancer, then corporal, then major, then, all these kinds of guys, okay? So the technology, what it does is it helps you to reduce that level of hierarchy, okay? Now, how does it do that? I'll just give you a very quick example. Like, okay, so, information, it trickles from top to bottom, okay? And what happens is, like, for example, the CEO of the company, Okay, he has an important update for everyone. So what he does, or what he used to do in the previous days, I would say, is he used to communicate that message to his directors. Okay, the directors would then tell that to their managers, the managers would tell to the supervisors, and then supervisors would tell to the factory workers, right? And there was a very grave risk that, the message might have been misinterpreted or misworded along the way, right? Because a message is coming from the top, and as it reaches down, it can become changed, right? It can, the meaning of the message might be altered, or some words might be altered, right? So this was a problem being faced by many people, okay? Like the CEO says something, but what the workers heard was something else, okay? So how does technology help? The CEO, what he does, he has an extensive email address list of all of his employees. He has the email list of directors, of supervisors, of managers, of the factory workers. He has email addresses of everybody, right? He has a group of an email group for the directors, an email group for the supervisors, etc., etc., etc. Okay, so what he does, like if he wants something specifically communicated to the factory workers, what he can do is that he can type in the email of what he wants to say, and he can email it directly to the factory workers. Okay, now this is a big benefit, right? The CEO's exact words are being communicated to the workers instantly, right? So there is no concept, there's a very limited, extremely limited chance of any sort of misinformation, right? So this is how the organizational structure can become flatter, okay? Because then there is no need for information to trickle down, okay? It can be received in an instant, okay? So this is how information technology, or IT, is helping to reduce the hierarchy of organizational structures, right? Let's move on. However, if we talk about the span of control, again, if we talk about the span of control, like, okay, you have the board of directors, right? You have the board of directors, like there are 3 people, okay? You have 3 people in the board of directors who are responsible for like 15 managers, okay? Means each director is responsible for how many? 5 managers, right? And each of those 5 managers is responsible for 2 supervisors. And each supervisor is responsible for overseeing, let's say 30 people, okay? So these hierarchies, these spans of control, they will exist in every organization, but they will exist in a different way. There is no universally acceptable span of control or organizational hierarchy or organizational structure for every business, right? Like it's not like one size fits all, right? Like if I say, hey, listen, you can only have 5 people under 1 person, like only like 1 person can be responsible for maximum of 5 people, right? But in an organization where there are thousands of employees, that's not feasible, right? Like I'll have to hire 1 person for every 5 people. So that's not possible, right? That's not feasible at all for me. So there is no one universal span of control for every organization. Each business has to have its own appropriate span of control which suits it best, right? But how will we decide? How will we decide, guys, that our span of control is appropriate for the business? We will judge by the ability of the manager, how competent the manager is, how competent the people under him are, like the people he's responsible for, how competent they are, how well trained or how well educated they are. The nature of the task, like how complex is the task? Like if the task is very complex, you might need to bring more people on board. You might need to expand your span of control, right? Get more people on board, get more eyes on the problem, and get it solved faster. And how geographically dispersed your employees are. Like, are all employees in one place physically, or like some people will be joining you online? Okay, so that can also affect your span of control. and the availability of good information. If you have a good quality of information, the work can be done quicker, better, and more efficiently. Okay? So if you have a good quality of information, you know exactly what you need. You don't need to expand your span of control. Okay? Like you don't need to get someone who can inform you what's going on. Okay? You already know you already know what you have to do. So you don't need to, keep consulting other people, right? You don't need an information guy on your team under your span of control, right? Okay, let's move on. Now let's take a look at centralization and decentralization. In short, what I would say is centralization means like all of the power, all of the decision-making power, all of the veto and voting power are all gathered in one place, right? Like if you talk about maybe communism, right? All power is centered at one particular place, the government, right? So in a centralized system, what happens is all the decision-making power rests in the hands of the board of directors. The board of directors have the sole power to decide each and everything that goes on in the company, right? Or the entire decision-making power is in the hands of the partners, they're in the hands of the sole trader, and what they say goes, okay? But in case of a decentralized system, what happens is that you delegate that authority. You delegate the power. Okay, you know that you have very competent leaders, you have very competent heads of departments who can very well take decisions on their own. Okay, so what you do, you say, hey, listen, you guys know what's best, you guys are experienced, we trust you guys, we are decentralizing the power and we are going to give autonomy or authority to you guys to make your own decisions. Okay, so when you delegate that authority, when you delegate that decision-making power, that's called decentralization. Like the head of marketing department can make decisions which are best suited for marketing. The purchase director, he knows where he can get the best raw materials from at the best prices, the best quality, the best quantity. So let him make the decisions. Okay, when he has the power to do so, that's what decentralization is. Okay, I hope that's clear. Let's move forward. The information market, a simple definition, it reflects the growing view that information is a commodity which can be bought, sold, or exchanged. Now, information being bought, information being exchanged is what's happening right now between me and you. Okay? Information is being relayed to you guys. Okay? You have purchased this course and the information is being relayed to you guys. Okay? So, it's all, it all comes down to what you're actually, what information you're actually willing to pay for. Like Netflix, right? You go for Netflix, you go for Hulu, you go for Amazon Prime, you go for HBO Max. All of that is information. You're consuming that information, right? And in case of businesses, what businesses do is like they often go out, okay? They hire the marketing agencies and they say, hey, listen, we want a database of all the people who are interested in purchasing, let's say, air conditioners, okay? So they do a market research, they gather the data of all the people who are interested or who want to purchase air conditioners, and they sell that information to the businesses, right? And that is how the businesses, they purchase the information. Okay, so I hope that's clear. Now let's look at how information technology affects the employee and employer relationships. Okay, as we discussed that there is a lesser need to follow the hierarchy, okay? Because the one email from the CEO and everybody knows what they need to know, okay? So there is less dependency on the supervisors and the managers, okay? And there is no information overload, okay? The people will only get the information what they actually need, okay? Like a factory worker, he does not need to know what the supervisor needs, okay? They do not need to know what the manager wants, right? They do not care about the information a director needs. Okay, so let's say that a CEO in the olden days, what he does is that he passes a big document entailing all of the information which he wants to relay to his directors, to the managers, to the supervisors, and to the frontline workers, right? So the workers, they get the book, okay, they get the orders. All right. Now let's take a look at how IT influences the employee and employer relationships. First of all, as we discussed, that the employees have a lesser need, or they are less dependent on their superiors for information. One email from the CEO and everybody knows what they need to know. And thus there is less information overload, right? For example, in the olden days, what used to happen is when the CEO wanted to communicate something, he used to compile all the information, like orders to the directors, orders to the managers, supervisors, frontline workers, and he used to send it all out. Okay. Now, imagine the frontline worker, the factory worker. Why does he need to know the orders of the directors? Why does he need to know the orders of the managers? He doesn't. So it's going to be a lot of information overload for him, right? So, but due to IT, due to selected email groups, these workers will only get the information that they really need, right? Otherwise, there's a risk of what their orders are and what the director's orders are. Okay, like there can be a lot of confusion, as you can imagine. Okay, the nature of work is clearly communicated, right? And it doesn't matter where you are in the world, just like you and I, right here, right now, right? I'm in Pakistan. You guys are probably maybe in the UK, maybe in the Middle East, maybe in the West, right? Maybe in Australia. You guys can watch me independently. You guys can watch me at your own convenience. You guys can take the F1 lectures at your convenience, no matter where you are in the world. I don't need to be physically present right there with you. You guys don't need to be physically present over here. We are able to conduct these classes online thanks to information technology, right? And same goes for the businesses. If they want to consult an expert on many matters, right? They don't need to fly them out, right? Unless it's an emergency, maybe. Like if they just want a routine opinion or they want an expert opinion, these guys can just, have a Zoom session or a Skype call and, just discuss all the problems, okay? And the online working, especially for the freelancing community, these guys can adjust their own working hours, right? Because, there can be a time difference between, their online jobs, okay? So these guys can amend their working hours accordingly. And there is greater monitoring and control of the employees thanks to all of the surveillance equipment that is available. Okay, I hope that's clear. Let's get a move on. Now let's have a look at outsourcing. I'm pretty sure you guys might have heard this word. Now, what outsourcing is exactly? Outsourcing, guys, is when you delegate some of your work to others, right? You delegate some of the work to others. Reason? Well, there are some very monotonous tasks, very repetitive tasks, or some tasks which can be done cheaper by someone else, or which can be done better by someone else, right? So in that case, you delegate or you hand over those operations to someone else so they can do them on your behalf, right? A very good example of this, I think we might have discussed it earlier as well, is all of the call centers or many call centers around the world of the businesses. One of the examples of outsourcing, I believe we may have discussed it earlier, is of call centers, right? Now, call centers of many businesses, they are present in Southeast Asian countries, right? The reason being is that these guys are willing to provide these services of a better quality and at lower rates. Okay, so many businesses have outsourced their call center operations to these countries so they can provide better working hours and better quality information at a much lesser price. Okay, so this is the art of outsourcing. Here we have a small diagram of the 4 types of outsourcing available. We have ad hoc, we have project management, we have partial and total outsourcing. Okay, now ad hoc outsourcing is when you hire someone for a small period of time. Like I say, hey, listen, I want to hire someone, or I want to outsource my task to someone for 4 months or 6 months. Okay, like I have a task at hand. Okay, like I want to get my taxes done, right? I want to get my taxes done for the next 6 months. Okay, so I delegate that task to a tax consultant. I tell him, hey, listen, you know taxes best. You can handle my taxes for the next 6 months or for the next 1 year. Okay, so for 1 year, he does your taxes, you pay him, all's good. Okay, that's called ad hoc. Okay, like when you outsource a particular task for a particular period of time, that's called ad hoc outsourcing. As for project management, what happens is you get a specific project. Okay, you have a specific project, but maybe you don't have the people who are experts. Okay, maybe you don't have expert employees who can tackle the problem, okay, who can fulfill the project on time. So what you do is you outsource that particular project to a team of specialists, right? You outsource it, you hand over the authority that, hey, listen, you guys, I've got this project, it needs to be done maybe within 2 months or 3 months, whatever. Okay, but this project has to be done. I don't have the manpower, I don't have the expertise, but you guys do, so please get it done for me. Okay, so when you outsource a specific project to someone, that's called project management outsourcing. Partial outsourcing is when you like delegate maybe 20-30% of your operations to other people, okay, to other organizations. And a total outsourcing means majority of your operations, majority of the business operations are being outsourced, right? So I hope that's clear. Moving on. Now we have some benefits and we have some drawbacks of outsourcing, as you can well imagine. Now, I want you guys to pause this video, okay? I want you guys to pause this video and I want you to think of at least 2 advantages and 2 disadvantages of outsourcing. Okay, just pause the video right now and think about it. Okay, so I believe you might have guessed some advantages and disadvantages of outsourcing. Let's see what you thought become part of the list. Let's talk about the advantages first, the benefits of outsourcing. It removes uncertainty about cost. Okay, if you are handing over the project to somebody else, they'll give you a quotation, right? They'll tell you that how much time it's going to take, they'll tell you how much it's going to cost, and then there's no ambiguity regarding how much it's going to cost, right? Because if you have it in your own organization, there's no telling how much the particular project is going to cost, okay? But if you outsource it, it becomes easier for you to calculate the cost, right? Now, how is this possible? Like if you have your employees, like you're paying them on a monthly basis, okay? So it's difficult to determine that how much time each employee is putting into the project, how much time each employee, or like how much contribution each employee is giving to the project. But when you outsource it, you have a detailed cost plan for everything, okay? Now, if you build good connections with these people, okay, you can hire them for a longer period of time. Like, as other similar projects come along, as other similar responsibilities come along, you can delegate them with confidence. Like, I know these guys are tried and trusted people, they're experts, they're specialists. I have no problem giving them further work as it comes in, okay? You have economies of scale. I believe we discussed economies of scale earlier, right? Lower costs, meaning higher profits. Okay. You have a vast skill and knowledge pool available, because as I said, in the project management, okay, when you have a project at hand and you don't have the experts available, you can outsource it. And when you outsource it, these guys will share the knowledge with you. These guys will share their expertise with you. You will see how the work is done. Okay. So there's going to be exchange of skills and ideas, and it's going to be mutually beneficial for both parties. And it's going to be very flexible. Okay. Like, instead of giving overtime to your employees, or hiring permanent members of the faculty of the, you can say, the workers, right? Like permanently hiring more specialists. If you hire someone else, like if you outsource it, so the specialist team that you've outsourced the task to, they can work at their own pace. They are very flexible. Okay, they know that you might have some changes in mind, or you might want to remedy some things regarding the project that you've outsourced. So these guys can easily accommodate that. As for your employees, they might be set in their ways, so to speak. Okay, so outsourcing offers flexibility in this regard. Now let's take a look at the drawbacks. The information is confidential. Okay, often you guys will be trusting, the businesses will be trusting these specialist companies with very secret, very sensitive and confidential information. Okay, now when they do that, they are trusting those companies to keep them confidential. Okay, but again, there is always a risk that your confidential information might be leaked. Okay, the competitive advantage can be lost. Something that you could have done yourself, something that you yourself could have specialized in, the business itself could have specialized in, they have devoid, they have they have lost that opportunity. Okay, they have lost that opportunity by delegating it to someone else, right? Like, maybe with time you could have developed a good marketing department or a sales department, but instead you're outsourcing it, right? But businesses who are able to do that themselves, they might have a better advantage. Or you might have to face unfavorable contracts from the specialist companies. They might be charging very high fees, right? Because if you're hiring experts, it's not going to be cheap. Okay, it's probably going to be a bit more expensive, depending the nature of the work and for how long you're hiring them for. Okay, so I hope it's clear. Let's move on, guys. All right, the environment. I believe we all do and should care about the environment, and the businesses are no exception. The footprint, the environmental footprint, or the carbon footprint, as some people might call it, are all the impacts that business activities have on the environment. Okay, and these are all the problems, these are all the negativities that are spread due to business activities to the now and these are all the drawbacks, these are all the negativities spread on the environment through business activities, right? Your natural resources are depleted. There's noise pollution, air pollution, water pollution, even light pollution, right? In some countries, there is so much light and air pollution that you cannot see the stars in the sky. Okay, like take New York City, for example. Okay, or take maybe Las Vegas, for example. Like, there's so much light and air pollution in these densely populated cities that oftentimes when you're having meteor showers or a very starry sky, you're not able to enjoy it. Okay, let's move on. Now, this is a very, very special concept called the SWOT analysis. The strength, weakness, opportunity, and threat. SWOT. All right. The SWOT analysis is how an organization measures what it's truly capable of. Okay. It identifies how powerful it is, what its strengths are, What benefits can it achieve in the future? The opportunities it can avail, right? And what are the problems facing the business, or what problems the business could face, right? Like the weaknesses of the business and the threats the business is exposed to. Okay. Now, before we move on, just one thing I want to make clear, that strength and weaknesses. Strengths are all the good things inside the company, and weaknesses are all the bad things inside the company. Whereas opportunities are all the good things outside the company, and threats are all the bad things outside the company. Right? So I hope that's clear, guys. Okay, let's move on. Let's have a look at threats and opportunities. Now, what opportunities can a business avail? What benefits? What you can say? What opportunities can a business avail? What benefits can a business avail? We will see that maybe we can expand into new markets, whether we can launch new products, what type of competitors we have, right? If the people are willing to buy our products, if we can enter into a new market, or maybe we can, compare with other industries, with other competitors in the area. Okay, what are the fashion trends we can tap into? What are the maybe some extra or additional services or products we can offer to the public? All these are opportunities, or maybe even how much the government is going to help us if we enter a particular new market, maybe in a new country, right? Like if the government is offering you tax rebates or maybe low interest loans, so that's all going to be an opportunity. Similarly, the threats, right? Main threat comes with competition, right? Like what kind of competition is there? Like maybe there's a very strong competition, so that's going to be a problem for you. Like right off the bat, you're going to be struggling to survive. Or if the government does not want foreign companies settling in, the people are not, friendly, right? Or maybe if there's a political or economic breakdown in the country, then all of these are threats, right? Like all these problems can threaten to shut down your business. Okay. All right. Now the SWOT analysis can be used in two different ways. The first one is resource-based strategies, and the other one is positioning-based strategies. In resource-based strategies, what the company does, what the business does, is it uses its strengths. It uses all of the good things inside the business to establish a strong foothold in the market, right? And in a positioning-based strategy, it does focus on the strength, but it focuses much more on all the opportunities. It looks forward, right? For example, if the company is not internally strong, it will continue to exploit the opportunities available to it, right? So that particular approach is called the positioning-based strategy. All right, the value chain. Now the value chain is again an interesting concept. The value chain, I would say the best way and the simplest way to describe it is how value is added at each and every step of the product, from the raw materials to the finished products you have in your hands and everything that comes after. Okay? All that, the whole journey is what we call the value chain. And it can be best described to you, the best way to be shown to you is through a diagram, which we have right here, right? Value activities are all those things which increase the value of the product. Okay, as you can see that we have the primary activities in this diagram, and we have some support activities. Let's take a look at the primary activities first. We have inbound logistics, operations, outbound logistics, marketing and sales, and after sales service. Whereas the supporting activities is the firm infrastructure, the human resource department, the technology department, and the procurement of raw materials. We'll be discussing each and every one of them in turn. So these were the primary activities, right? And then we have the support activities, which are the firm infrastructure, human resource department or management, the technology development, the research and development department, and we have the procurement, which is the purchasing department. Okay. All these are the support activities, all the activities which are supporting the main or the primary activities of the business. We'll be delving into each one of them individually, again, through the diagrams. Now, let's take a look at the primary activities. Okay. Now, the first one we have is inbound logistics, which is receiving, handling, and storing the inputs or the raw materials into the production system, right? Like you receive the raw materials and you put them in the warehouse or you put them in the machinery to be processed. We have the operations or the production where the machines get to work, the laborers, the employees, they get to work on the machines and on the equipment and on the raw materials. Then we have the outbound logistics. Like once the good is finished, we have the ready-made product. Then what happens? Outbound logistics come into place and they package the product. They test the product first, obviously. They test the product, they package it properly and safely, and they dispatch it to the customers. Okay. Then we have marketing and sales. Obviously, we have a saying, what cannot be seen cannot be sold, right? What cannot be seen cannot be sold. Thus, we need the marketing and sales to be very, very strong, and thus they have been classified as a primary business activity. And lastly, we have the after sales service, right? Like maybe if you buy a TV or if you buy an electrical appliance, like maybe like a fridge. So oftentimes, these have warranties. Okay, these have after sales service. Like, hey, listen, you're buying this expensive piece of equipment from us. It's of an electrical nature. There might be some problems later on. In case there are any problems, just give us a call. We will come and we will fix any problem you have with this appliance free of cost for the next 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, whatever the warranty limit is, right? So these were the primary activities. And then we have the support activities, such as the procurement, officially purchasing the raw materials, technology development, all the research and development that's going on to determine the quality and innovations of your product, the human resource, hiring the proper employees, their training, their motivation, their salaries, their bonuses, all that stuff, and the firm infrastructure itself. The firm infrastructure, like how well is the organization designed, like how efficient is the organizational structure. Again, it's a very detailed topic which will be coming later on. For now, it's just the hierarchy and the span of control that you guys should be concerned about as of right now. Once organizational structure, the chapter comes in, you guys will be in a world of interest, right? Okay, so that's all for support activities. Now let's talk about Porter's 5 forces model, right? The Porter's 5 forces model basically consists of 5 things, which are the threat of new entrants into the industry, the competition, how easy it is for other businesses to compete with you, how easy it is for you to enter the market, and how easy it is for your competitors to enter the market, right? How many substitute goods you have. Now, if you guys are not aware of what substitute goods are, let me explain. Substitute goods are competitor goods, which can be used in place of each other, right? Like for example, I have this phone, okay? It's a Realme phone, an Android phone, a Realme phone, okay? But there are many brands just like this one, okay? Like there are maybe Vivo, we have Oppo, we have Infinix, we have Techno, we have Samsung. These are all substitute goods. These are all substitute products which can be used instead of this. Like if I don't have a Realme phone, I can go for an Oppo phone, I can go for a Vivo phone, right? Now, and how easily available these substitutes are, they're also going to impact your business, okay? Then we have the bargaining power of customers and the bargaining power of suppliers, meaning how strong, how well informed, and how influential the customers and the suppliers in that market are, right? The more bargaining power they have, the more they can steer the advantage, the benefits in their direction, right? And then we have the competition, the existing competition in the market, right? Like if you're a small time store, like if you're a small general store, right? And you are going to operate in a country, you're going to set up shop in a country where there's a Walmart or a Target or some other supermarket, which can offer so many more goods that you are offering at maybe a lower price. So that's not going to do very well for you. That's not going to do you any favors, right? So you have to assess that what the existing competition in the market is right now before entering into it for your own good, right? Okay. Let's talk about the bargaining power of customers. What makes the customers so powerful? What do the customers have which makes them so powerful? How much the customer buys, how much disposable income they have, and how many goods they're purchasing. The more goods they're purchasing from you, the more power they have over you. Okay? How critical the product is to the customer's own business. If the customer can easily go for substitute goods, if the customer can easily go for substitute goods, then your specific product might not have a lot of power over them, right? But vice versa, if the customers are dependent on your goods, they have to buy your goods, then the tables are turned. Then you have more power over them, then the business has more power over them. Okay? The switching cost, right? The switching cost means how easy it is for a customer to change businesses or to change their suppliers, right? If it's very easy, if there are many businesses making the same goods or similar goods, then customer becomes automatically more powerful. Okay? If the products are standard products, like cell phones all around, all of the same type, just different brands, then you can do fairly well. But if you're offering something very special, if you're offering something very unique, or your product is different from the others, that gives you power. Okay? Now, the customer's own profitability, meaning a customer who makes low profits will be forced to insist on low prices from suppliers, right? Now, if a customer wants to buy your products for his own business, okay? If they want to buy products for their own business and they're making low profits, okay? And they're making low profits, that makes you more powerful, right? But if they're already making high profits, they can easily switch to some other person, some other business for their products. Okay. The customer's ability to bypass the supplier, right? Like if they have the power to obtain the goods directly at cost, because see, when you manufacture a product, okay, and when you're selling them at retail stores, there's a price difference. Okay. Like if you purchase something at a retail store, it's going to cost you more as compared to when you buy it directly from the warehouse or from the distributor, right? If the customers can have the option, they can easily buy the same goods from the distributor rather than your retail stores, then it's going to be a problem for you, right? And how well the customers can negotiate, how well the customers are aware of the quality and the quantity and the nature of your product, how well informed they are. All these things, again, make the customers more powerful. They are able to offer, they're able to bargain much more better with you that way, right? I hope that's clear. Moving on. Then we have the bargaining power of suppliers. A similar concept, how powerful the suppliers are. Let's see what makes them so powerful. If there are only one or two suppliers of that particular raw material in the entire market, that makes them very, very powerful. They can form monopolies or oligopolies. All right. These are business models which are dominating the entire industry, right? Like if you want to buy denim, for example, there's only one supplier of denim in the entire market. You have to buy from him. So that makes that supplier, that denim supplier, very, very influential, very strong. You have to conform to his terms, right? The threat of new entrants or substitute products into the supplier's industry. How many suppliers can enter into the market, right? How many suppliers can compete with that? The more easy it is for more suppliers to enter the market, the less powerful the existing suppliers are going to get, right? But the more difficult it is for new suppliers to enter the market, so it's going to make the existing suppliers that more powerful. Now, whether the suppliers have other customers outside the industry, if the suppliers have many, many customers besides you, or they have international customers, they ship overseas, that's going to make them stronger again. Okay. How important is their product to your business? The more important that is, the more power that supplier has over you. Whether the supplier has a differentiated product which buyers need to obtain. Again, if you need a specialized raw material or if you need a specialized product for your business and only one or two suppliers are selling it, that makes the suppliers more powerful. But if that product is readily available in the market, the power goes to you, the business. And whether the switching cost for you would be high, right? Well, it's not that much of a relevant point. It like basically boils down to how many options you have, right? If you have more options when it comes to suppliers, then you are more powerful. But if you're dependent on just one or two suppliers, it means the power rests in the hands of the suppliers, right? And there we have it, ladies and gentlemen. We have officially completed the second chapter of F1 Business Technology. Now it's time for some questions. I hope you guys are ready. The first question that we have: what is an acronym used to describe the key elements of an organization's external environment? Is it SWOT? Is it SMART? Or is it PEST? Remember, external environment. It's PEST. But it is something that we have not yet studied. Well, let me tell you something right now. PEST is a unique concept which we will be discussing later on, but I was going to give you a very, very small example. Okay? Why not SWOT? Why PEST? Because even in SWOT, we had threats and opportunities which were external, right? Yes. But SWOT also has two internal things as well, the strengths and weaknesses. We need something which is 100% external, and that's where PEST comes in. PEST stands for political, economical, social, and technological. Okay? This concept will be further discussed in the upcoming chapters, but this is something which I do apologize, but this was purposely put there to give you guys a bit of a shock, but no need to worry. Okay, it's just to keep you guys on your feet. And this concept will be further discussed in the upcoming classes. Okay, PEST, again, political, it's external, right? Economical, external, exists outside the business. Social, again, outside the business. And technological, mostly outside the business. Right? So PEST is something which exists completely outside the business, whereas SWOT and SMART, these have internal implications for the business as well. Okay, let's move forward. Which of the following is not a legitimate method of influencing government policy in the interest of a business? Okay, now this is a good question. Now, which one of these options, I would say, is an ethical one. I think all of them are ethical except one of them. We have to choose the non-ethical, the non-legitimate, the non-legal way. Which one is it? Employing lobbyists, giving lawmakers NEDs, offering financial incentives to public officials, could be, or attempting to influence public opinion to put pressure on the legislative agenda. Okay, now this can be a bit of a tricky question. I want you guys to pause this video right now, to read the question carefully, maybe revisit all of the things we have covered, refer to the study text, and then come back to this question. Okay? Pause the video, get the correct answer, and then let me know. Okay, so what is the correct answer? Which of the following is not a legitimate method of influencing government policy in the interest of a business? Is it A? Is it B? Is it C? Or is it D? The answer is C. Offering financial incentives to public officials, meaning the politicians, to use their influence on the organization's behalf, because this would be interpreted as corruption. Financial incentives, meaning bribes. You are bribing someone. Okay, you are bribing the public officials, the government heads, the government leaders to, favor your business, right? To pull strings for your business. Okay, so this thing is illegal. It comes under corruption. Okay, and it's not a legitimate way. Bribery is illegal everywhere. Moving on. A recent trend in organizational and management is the rise of virtual organization or virtual team working, meaning online. To which of the following environmental pest factors is this mostly directly attributed to? Economical, socio, technological, or political? All right. PEST, political, no. Economical, no. Social, no. Technological, maybe. Because virtual is online, and online is possible through technology. So what is the answer, guys? The answer is technological. Very good. Very good. Let's move on. In the context of best practice, employment protection law. All right. Employment protection means something to do with social, maybe, right? In which of the following circumstances is a dismissal of an employee automatically considered unfair? Okay. Unfair dismissal, the concept of unfair dismissal, right? Keep recalling it. Selection for redundancy on basis of age means retirement. Like when a person reaches the age of retirement. So yeah, I think it's a fair reason. Like if a person is old enough, he's not able to do justice to his job anymore. So maybe it's time to let him go. So yeah, I think this can be a fair reason to let someone go. Misconduct, maybe. Marriage to an employee of a key competitor, maybe. And incompetence. Like you hire a complete buffoon to do a job, right? So in that case, yeah, it could be, right? But if you hire a complete buffoon, and he messes up real bad, then it's probably a good idea to let him go. Okay? And if someone has a misconduct, if he behaves in a very unprofessional way, and if you fire him, well, you should, right? So what's the answer, guys? Is it A, B, C, or D? I think you guys might be leaning towards the option C. Let's see if that is correct. The answer is A. Selection for redundancy on the basis of age. Why? This constitutes unfair selection for redundancy on the basis of recent age discrimination legislation. Redundancy is potentially fair grounds for dismissal as long as the basis of selection is fair. If you are doing any misconduct or incompetence, again, these are fair grounds. Okay? If you are being fired for your misconduct and incompetence, so that is fair, a fair way to let you go. So option B and D are eliminated. And there should be a reasonable attempt at performance or disciplinary management, meaning you have warned them, you have trained them, you have disciplined them, but these guys continue to mess up, so you have to let them go, right? Marriage to an employee of a key competitor. Okay? Like, okay, now this is something which is a bit interesting. Like, you are married, or the CEO of the company, or a senior manager of a company is married to a person who is the director of a competitor, right? Like the senior manager of business A, the senior manager of business A marries the director of business B, and both business A and business B are competitors. Okay, they are competitors, they're against each other, right? So there is a very high risk of, sensitive information being exchanged, right? Sensitive confidential business information being exchanged, right? So even in that case, guys, even in that case, it is okay to let them go because there's a very high risk. Okay, so the option is A, selection for redundancy on basis of age. Now, retirement is an exception. Like if a person is very old, right? If a person is very, very old, they're above the retirement age, then it's okay to let them go, right? But if you're firing young people, specifically young people, through no fault of their own, like you have many people of retirement age working at your business, but you're choosing to fire or make redundant only the young people, or maybe just the middle-aged people, right? So that is unfair. Okay, that is not ethical, I would say, right? So if you're hiring, like if you're making people redundant, or you're dismissing people of a specific age group only, then yes, that is unfair. I hope it's clear to you guys. Okay. Which of the following socio-cultural trends will have a direct impact on most business organizations? Okay. Increasing ethnic and religious diversity in populations. Yes, it can. Falling birth rates. Maybe. Focus on green issues. Green means environmental issues. Okay, like we are focusing more on the environment. Increase in single member households. Okay, like increase in people living alone, right? Like one guy or one girl, living alone in their apartment, and their numbers are rising. Okay, that's what it means. So, which of the following socio-cultural trends will have a direct impact on most business organizations? Is it A, B, C, or D? Now, I want you guys to think about this, right? There is increasing cultural diversity, religious and ethnic diversity. Falling birth rates means less and less people are being born. More focus on environmental issues, and an increase in single member households. Which one of them will have a direct impact on most business organizations? What's your answer, guys? Is it A, B, C, or D? If you answered C, you were absolutely right. Why not 4? Why not increase in single member households? Read the answer. Increasing diversity has an impact on HR policies in regard to equal opportunity and prevention of discrimination. Right? Now, I did not say that what kind of impact. I said the most direct impact. Okay? If more and more people of diverse religious, cultural, and ethnic backgrounds are coming into the business, the HR will have to immediately, take some measures to accommodate them, to make them feel more welcome, and make the business environment more suitable to their liking, right? Or more comfortable for them. Okay. Falling birth rates. Now, as less and less people are being born, it means your demand is going to be falling, right? Less people means less products to sell, right? So that's going to have a direct impact on your business. Focus on green issues. The more environmentally conscious people are, the more immediately you have to respond, right? Like if people are pushing for climate change, right? So what you have to do is you have to immediately issue statements. You have to side with the good people, the climate change activists, so to speak, and you have to take measures immediately, like reduce pollution, cut your carbon emissions, go towards electric and solar power, and all that stuff. But increase in single-member households. Increase in single-member households. It might impact few organizations. Right? Like, many people, they live together, right? Man is a social creature. He needs other people to survive, right? So you see, most of the organizations, most of the companies, they are selling products which aim for, which are family products, right? To be enjoyed by the whole family, right? But if more and more people are starting to live individually, they will still need those products, right? They will still need food and shelter and medicine and laundry detergent and soap and shampoo, all of that stuff, right? So they are still going to buy those goods, but it doesn't matter where you live or how many people you live with, you'll still be purchasing those products. Okay, so it's not going to have a direct impact on your business immediately. Maybe in the future a little bit, but not as drastically as the first three. Right? I hope that's clear. Let's move on. Porter's 5 forces identifies factors which determine the nature and strength of competition in an industry. Yes, it does. Which of the following is not one of the 5 forces? I think you guys can easily answer this one. Is it A, B, C, or D? Yep, it is D. Government regulation was not considered by Porter whilst making his 5 forces. All right, a small case study for you guys. BCD Company is a large trading company. Steve is the administration manager and is also responsible for legal and compliance functions. Okay, we have Steve. Sheila is responsible for after-sales service and has responsibility for ensuring that customers who have purchased goods from BCD Company are fully satisfied. So Sheila works in the after-sales service. Right? Sunny deals with suppliers and negotiates on the price and quality of inventory. He is also responsible for identifying the most appropriate suppliers of plant and machinery for the factory. Okay, so Sunny, he is in the procurement department, the purchasing department. Okay, and Sam is the IT guy. Sam is the information technology manager and responsible for all information systems within the company. All right, so Sam is the IT guy, Steve is the administration guy, Sheila is the after sales girl, and Sunny is the purchasing guy. Okay, according to Porter's value chain, primary and secondary activities, remember, according to Porter's value chain, please keep the diagram in front of you, which of the managers is involved in a primary activity as compared to a support activity? Now, out of these 4 guys, which one of them is doing a primary activity? Is it Steve? Is it Sheila? Is it Sunny? Or is it Sam? One look at the diagram and you'll get the answer. And yes, you are right. It is Sheila. Right? 3 of the following strategies are closely related. Which is the exception? Downsizing, delegating, delayering, and outsourcing. Now, let me explain. We have already discussed outsourcing, right? We have discussed delegating. Outsourcing and delegating are the same thing, right? Outsourcing and delegating are mostly the same thing. Outsourcing and delegating means you are giving the authority to someone else to perform specific tasks. Then you have downsizing, and then you have delayering. Okay. What do downsizing and delayering have in common? And what do all these four things have or might have in common? Let's take a look. Delegating is something different. Three of the following strategies are closely related. Which is the exception? Downsizing, delegating, delayering, and outsourcing. Now, one of them is the odd one out. Okay? One of them is the odd one out. Which one is it? It is delegating. But sir, isn't delegating the same as outsourcing? Well, let's take a look. Outsourcing is contracting some of the firm's activities to external providers. Delayering is the removal of hierarchy levels in the organization. Means you have the managers, then senior managers, then directors, then senior directors. So you cut all of these or some of these levels of management. That's called delayering. And downsizing, reducing the number of staff permanently. Downsizing means you are cutting the number of staff drastically. Okay. Delegating is the process whereby a superior gives subordinate part of his or her own authority to make decisions. Now, what is happening over here? Decision making is a very crucial part of business, right? Let's say that if I'm delegating a task to one of my students, right? Like if I tell him that, hey, I am giving you the authority to check some papers and see if people are passing or failing, right? You have the call. I'm giving you the authority to pass or fail the students. I'm just going to teach the class. I'm just going to conduct the exams. You judge who passes and who fails my class, right? So that is delegating. I'm giving by him a piece of my own power, right? But outsourcing is when you tell someone that you have to do something on my behalf, right? Outsourcing is when you are giving, outsourcing is when I am giving my own work to someone else, right? The difference between outsourcing and delegating is like I still have power over the paper checking or the passing and failing of students, right? But outsourcing is when I told that person, hey, listen, you make the papers and you, give the marks, right? I tell my student that if you are responsible, I give you my authorization to pass and fail the students. That's delegation, right? But if I tell my student that, I really don't like making the exam papers, you make the exam papers, right? He does not have the authority, he does not have the decision-making ability. He has to make the papers as I tell him to. He cannot just make the papers by himself. He will make the papers as I tell him to. He does not have the authority to make the papers through his own experience, right? So this is the difference between outsourcing and delegation, right? So I hope this concept is now clear to you guys, okay? Now, what makes downsizing, delayering, and outsourcing so similar? Downsizing and delayering, removing management and removing workers. Delayering, removing the management levels, and downsizing, removing the workers. Both of them closely, very closely related. And outsourcing. Outsourcing is when I have outsourced or I have given my task to some other person to complete it. So I don't need people in my own business to do that task, right? Like if I have given some particular work, like maybe research and development to an outsider company, so I don't need a research and development department in my own business. Okay, so that department is mostly going to be shut down. So downsizing, delayering, and outsourcing, the same thing, but delegating is a bit different. I hope it's clear. I know it's a bit confusing, but I hope it's clear to you guys. If you have any questions, guys, please feel free to ask. Okay? The next question. Which of the following would be identified as a cultural trend? Health and safety, culture, I don't know. Concern with health and diet, maybe. Or increasing age of the population. It's B. An easy one for you guys, okay? The more health conscious people are getting, so it's a more of a cultural trend. The next question. For demographic purposes, which of the following is not a determinant in the identification of a social class? Okay, now this is a tricky question. For demographic purposes, read it again very carefully. For demographic purposes, which of the following is not a determinant in the identification of a social class? Focus on the word identification. Okay? Income level, lifestyle, occupation, meaning where you live, and education. Which one of these is not a determinant of identifying a social class? It's B, lifestyle. Because your lifestyle is a reflection of economic status and condition, not a determinant of them. What does this mean? What does this mean? You know, the lifestyle that you're living, the lifestyle that you are living right now, what you're enjoying, is the result of your income. It's the result of where you live. It's the result of how well educated you are. Right? The more well educated you are, the richer you are, and the more you can say well-off country you're living in, then you'll be able to have the lifestyle that you're enjoying right now. Okay? The lifestyle will come later. First, you have to increase your income level. You have to go to a better place, like maybe a more developed country, get a higher education, and then you can afford to have a good lifestyle. Right? Lifestyle is the result of income, occupation, and education. It's not a determinant of them. Right? And ladies and gentlemen, as promised in this video, we have covered the second chapter of F1 Business Technology. From the next class, guys, we will be starting chapter number 3, the macroeconomic environment, a very interesting chapter. It's going to involve some graphs as well. So if you like graphs, you're in for a treat. And let's keep it till here today. I will see you guys in the next video with the third chapter, the macroeconomic environment. Thank you very much. Take care.